This is a story about a man who thought he had it all. A great job, a big house, the ideal family, until a simple conversation with his 7-year-old daughter changed his life forever. This is a man who's going on a journey to where he always should have been. We're on the Pere Marquette River in Baldwin, Michigan, and we're being guided by Frank Willets. This is Guided. Frank, how did you get involved in the fishing game? I mean, for you, it's clearly just one of life's great passions.
You know, I grew up on an all-sports lake. I caught my first fish on a piece of cheese when I was 2.
Really?
You know, standing on the end of the dock with my dad. And ever since then, you know, I've been hooked for life.
I was born in Commerce Township, Michigan, and raised on Carroll Lake, a small inland lake that was an all-sports lake.
We got in a lot of trouble, my little brother and I, for stealing my dad's hard salami and sharp cheese to use for bait for bluegill and bass. And then my parents bought a home on the Osabo River where I started learning how to fly fish, and I've been hooked my whole life.
You see a body of water and you're compelled to go out there and find out what's in it. Outsmarting the fish, being outside in nature, changing the odds.
Like, did you have time for school, and did you go to university and all that kind of good stuff?
I went to Walled Lake Central High School, and then I went to Ferris State University.
All the while I continued to fish throughout those years, and I became an engineer. I worked in the automotive industry. When I was at Ferris, I met my wife at the time, Linda. We ended up getting married a couple years after college, and we had 2 beautiful children, Samantha and Dylan.
I started off at Ford Motor Car Company working in maintenance, and moved on to become a robotics engineer in paint applications. And I did that, and then I went to work for BASF as a top coat consultant, if you will, as a paint tech rep.
Yep.
Lived in Kansas City, worked in a truck plant there for Ford Motor Car Company as an in-plant BASF employee. And after doing that for a couple years, I went to work for a filter company.
I excelled rather quickly in that company. When I left, I was the general director of Latin America. I didn't feel like I was being true to myself. I felt like I was in a cutthroat business where, you know, it just wasn't fun anymore. They say the closer you get to the top, the closer you get to the front door.
I was home one time, and I was getting ready to head back to Mexico, and I think my daughter Sam was about 7. She was on the phone and arranging for a play date with one of her friends, and I said, "Hey, I gotta go, give me a hug and kiss goodbye." And she told her friend on the phone, she said, "Hold on, I gotta give my dad a hug goodbye. He doesn't love me as much as my mom. He's moving back to Mexico again."
For
you know,
real?
and that just...
And you heard that?
Oh yeah, she said it right in front of me, you know? Kids have no concept of what they're saying or how it's gonna hurt somebody, and she had no clue, but it ripped my frickin' heart out.
Today, Frank Willets can enjoy a leisurely day fishing on the river with his daughter Sam. But a few years ago, this would not have been possible.
There's fish.
Put a big bend in it and go to your right and left.
There you go.
Let it go. Bow your rod tip.
My dad worked in Mexico for I think 4 or 5 years when I was little, and so he lived down there the whole time, and we lived up here permanently, and so...
That's a drain on you. Not being with your family's a drain on you. Spending all of your time indoors, whether it's in an office, a cubicle, or manufacturing facility, it's just, you feel your senses being deadened.
Was on my way to the Detroit airport, and I called my boss and said, "You need to meet me in Mexico City tomorrow. I'm out."
You quit right there on the way to airport?
Yep. And,
Because of what Sam said to you?
yeah, well, it was,
that was the tipping point.
the tipping point, but a lot had gone on. My marriage was in the tank.
Linda was discussing divorce. You know, we had talked about going to counseling.
My kids didn't think I loved them, and I hated myself. I hated myself for that, and I hated myself because I didn't feel like I was being honest to myself.
Coming up next, the life lesson Frank will pass on to his kids.